Proverbs 8, and I picked what I believe is going to be one of the longer segment or lessons of this section of Proverbs for the hottest day of the year. So I figured I'd make it easy to sit here and listen for an hour. So I will do my best to not drone on and on and on endlessly. But Proverbs 8, we come now to the invitation of wisdom. Proverbs 7, we have the seduction of the adulteress. And there is absolutely an intentional contrast between the warnings against the adulteress in Proverbs 6 and 7 and the exhortation to follow wisdom in Proverbs 8. And this is really, it is building to the climax of the first 9 chapters of Proverbs. And so it starts all the way back in Proverbs chapter 1 when we see in those first several verses the sixfold purpose of Proverbs. And it's told to us it is written to teach wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. That's why Proverbs was written, is so that those who read it and learn from it will have these 3 things. And they're all interrelated. I'm come back to those in a little bit, but their wisdom, understanding, and knowledge are all interrelated. They're all parts of the same thing. We see that in chapter 1, verse 7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the Lord is foundational to having wisdom. We see that also in chapter 1 that wisdom commands the simple to reject the invitation of sinners. So wisdom has a moral imperative. Do not follow the way of sinners. If sinners entice thee, consent thou not. And it warns that if you do follow the way of the sinners, you will suffer the consequences. So wisdom is a bit of a prophetess and is a bit of the harsh teachers. She's the one that will wrap your knuckles if you don't listen. She will pronounce judgment if you do not obey. Wisdom in chapter 2, it leads to the fear of the Lord. So it's not only the foundation, the fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom, and the fear of the Lord is the fruit of wisdom. So as you grow in wisdom, you grow in the fear of the Lord, which enables you to grow in wisdom. It's this endless cycle. And wisdom, again, in chapter 2, protects from evil men and from the evil woman. That very, very important opening narrative of that wisdom will keep you from the evil man. Wisdom will keep you from the evil woman. It promises in chapter 3 incredible blessings. Chapter 4, wisdom promises good direction and great protection. Wisdom in chapter 5 protects us from the immoral woman. In chapter 6, it protects us from the adulteress. So we have wisdom in this whole section is being presented to us as a desirable one. Wisdom is personified, is presented to us as a lady that should be desired. They should be seeking her companionship. Remember, Solomon's writing to his son. And so particularly was writing to a young man and telling him, love lady wisdom. There's almost a romantic undertone. I think Solomon is grabbing that to really appeal to the young man that, look, this lady here, that's who you want. You do not want the seductress and the adulteress. You want wisdom. And here in chapter 8, we have this direct contrast with the adulteress of chapter 7. So that these two, we really can lay them out in parallel. We see that in chapter 7, the adulteress hunts her victims. If you remember, she's out lurking, stalking her victims. Wisdom invites, and she invites her pupils, those who will come and learn from her. The adulteress moves at night, in the dark of the night. Wisdom is moving and present in the day. The adulteress is acting covertly. She is seducing the man in and away from everyone else. Wisdom acts publicly. The adulteress lies. She tells all kinds of lies, flattering and deceit, whatever is necessary to lure her victim in. Wisdom speaks the truth. She is forthright. She is not a flatterer. She is forthright even in speaking painful truths that most people really don't want to hear. But she's going to speak the truth. The adulteress leads to misery and suffering and death. Wisdom, as we're going to see, brings joy, satisfaction, and life. There's a direct contrast between this immoral woman and wisdom. And obviously, the whole point is choose wisdom. So, chapter 8, verse 1. He says, "Does not wisdom cry out, and understanding lift up her voice? She takes her stand on the top of the high hill, beside the way where the paths meet. She cries out by the gates, at the entrance of the city, at the entrance of the doors." So we see here wisdom crying. She's offering this very, very public invitation. She's from the top of the high hill, where all can see her, where she really puts herself out for everyone to see and say, "Come, listen to me." She is at the crossroads, beside the way where the paths meet. This is the main thoroughfares, where they join together. She's at the busy street corners, inviting, calling out. She does this so that all will hear. She's crying out particularly to the simple and the foolish, but her invitation is for everyone. She's also at the gates of the city. And so it acts as somewhat as a courthouse where the elders are there and they're affirming, yeah, this is right. This is an acceptable decision. She is there with the venerable men. She's there where the business of the city is taking place. And everything we're seeing about her she's very, very public. Where business is taking place, where the men are coming and they're interacting, and there she is inviting all to come, where law is being settled, where cases are being heard, where the criminals are being brought for judgment. She is there. She's inviting everyone to come to her. And in verses 4 and 5, she says, "To you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O you simple ones, understand prudence, and you fools, be of an understanding heart." She is inviting all men. She's not prejudiced. Wisdom is not restricting her gifts to certain people. It's regardless of their status, regardless of their income, regardless of their education, regardless of anything at all. Wisdom is there inviting all to come to her. And specifically, the simple and the fools. So she is there inviting all, but she singles out the simple and the fool. So she is there publicly inviting these ones who need her most and saying, "Come to me, come to learn wisdom." And the fascinating thing is, we've already seen here in Proverbs, is that the fool and the simple both, they really don't seek out wisdom. That's one of the marks of being simple and of being a fool, is they don't turn to wisdom. They don't desire it. They don't pursue wisdom. So wisdom pursues them and invites them to come. She pursues them for their good. She's not hunting them like the adulteress. She's seeking them for their gain. And she offers to them something. Verse 4, she says to all men, I give prudence. In verse 5, you simple ones understand prudence. Prudence is skill in living. It really is a shrewdness to it. It's a craftiness, but not in a negative sense. We think of I think someone who's crafty, I think somebody somewhat underhanded trying to get away with something. That's not it, but that same kind of ability to, if you will, to scheme and to plan is present in prudence. Not planning for harm or for evil, but planning for good. It's promising the skill in making right decisions and being able to think through and to strategize to make a good decision. And there's also simply the understanding. This is that word that it is right back in verse 1, we see, does not wisdom cry out and understanding lift up her voice. It's the same thing. Wisdom is understanding. Understanding is wisdom. We're talking about the same lady with two different names. And so in Proverbs, these two words are almost always used synonymously. But when we're talking about understanding, it is this discernment. So it goes hand in hand with prudence in this verse. It's the ability to make the right decisions because there is a knowledge and a factual understanding of circumstances, of events, of choices, of destinations and consequences. It is that understanding of just facts. But it's more than just, I have this store of knowledge. I can tell you what the stock market did today and what it did yesterday and what it did a year ago and what it did 50 years ago, and I can kind of predict where it's going to go because of that. This is a moral understanding. So that I know right from wrong. I understand the way of the evil men. I understand the way of the evil woman. I see the destination of sinners. I see the hallmarks of folly and of laziness. I know what happens when somebody says, hey, will you co-sign on my loan? It's that factual understanding that leads to a moral choice. To make a discerning, in a biblical sense, make a discerning decision, to make that decision which is right, because there is a deep and a thorough understanding of what's at stake. So it's not just the issues, but the end. What is at stake here in these? And so wisdom invites those who do not have prudence, that they'll learn it. She invites those who have no understanding, that they'll receive it from her. And then verses 6 through 9, she says to the young men, to the simple, to the fools, listen. Listen, and I will speak of excellent things. And from the opening of my lips will come right things. For my mouth will speak truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are with righteousness. Nothing crooked or perverse is in them. They are all plain to him who understands and right to those who find knowledge. So we come to the words of wisdom, and she describes her words for us. And again, the contrast is with that of the immoral woman. So that even though her words are smoother than oil and sweeter than honey, we know that the immoral woman's words are poison and death. Wisdom tells us, my words, I speak of excellent things. Paul tells us in Philippians, it tells us not to be anxious for anything. He tells us that we are to set our mind or to think on those things which are of virtue, which are honorable, which are praiseworthy. We're not thinking on empty, foolish, deceitful things. And wisdom says, look, these things are excellent. These are the 24-karat words. They're pure words. They're the highest quality, of the highest value. They are right. Just from my lips will come right things, not wrong things. I mean, it's very obvious, very simple distinction. She's going to teach what is right. They are true. Again, verse 7, my mouth will speak truth. Wisdom doesn't lie. Biblical wisdom does not lie. Lady Wisdom here speaks the truth. Always. Again, even when we don't really want to hear it. So that she calls the simple, simple. She calls the fool a fool. She warns of judgment and destruction. She speaks lovingly, but she speaks very honestly in every respect. And she also speaks righteousness. All the words of my mouth are with righteousness. She hates the wicked. That which is a lie, that which is unrighteous, she hates, she speaks righteousness. And verse 9 really is a great promise. Because we come to wisdom, and we talk about the wisdom of this world. I don't know if you've read anything from Aristotle, Socrates, or Plato, and those great wise men, those great philosophers of history. If you read any modern philosophy, I don't think all of them have the same notoriety as wise men. But you read what in that realm, what is seen as wisdom, and some of it is incredibly complicated. Some of it is difficult to understand. Some of it's difficult to make sense of. Some of it's difficult to live. And wisdom comes and says, I'm offering you truth, right words, and they will be plain to those who have understanding, to the understanding ones. Her words will be understandable. So those who are seeking to understand, those who have gained any measure of understanding will gain more. They say they are words that are right to the knowledgeable, so that they will see that these words are good, they're healthy, they're life-giving words. The promise here is what I said early in this series. Intellect is not the issue. Education, at least as we think of our modern educational system, having graduated from high school or gone to college, is not the issue. So that the one who does not have wisdom can learn it and can receive it. And as they receive it, it is plain to them. It is evidently right to them because they have the knowledge, not near factual knowledge, but knowledge of right and wrong, knowledge of wisdom itself, so that those, ultimately I would say those who pursue wisdom, those who heed wisdom's invitation, find that her words are comprehensible. They understand it, and they can do something with it. Now, I don't mean that they are simplistic, nor do I mean that, in the first meeting with wisdom, you get everything. By any means. We know as you study the Bible, you get a little more and a little more and a little more. As you grow in understanding, you're able to understand yet more. And so wisdom is promising at the beginning of understanding. But what she is telling is that those who love wisdom will be able to receive it. There's not going to be this barricade set up so they can't receive it. But it will be given to them, again, just simply. And then we go, and I'm going to take these just a piece at a time because we see wisdom now begin to describe her worth. So that verse 10 says, receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. Wisdom is better than wealth. I've said this over and over again. It is absolutely better than all the wealth of the world. Verse 11, it says, for wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things one may desire cannot be compared with her. So that wisdom is better than treasures. People desire power. They desire friends, desire influence, they desire family, they desire relationships, they desire importance, they desire a sexual conquest or just a sexual relationship. They desire a wide range of things. And the things that we don't think of desiring on our own, we have advertisement to come along and tell us we should desire it. Everything is out there. And we look at all that men desire. And he says, wisdom is better than all of it. So you take and you look at your own life, and I won't ask for public confession here, but you look at your own life, and what is the thing that you desire most, the things that you find yourself most often longing towards? And wisdom is better than that. Even good things. I'm not saying here that wisdom is better than sinful things. It's better than good things in all things. So Jim mentioned land and mentioned a bigger house. There's nothing wrong with having a big house and lots of land. It's not a sinful desire. It's not a sinful possession. But wisdom is better. Wisdom is the fount of all those things. If you have wisdom, you will have peace and true joy. You will have that loving heart. You will, I'm not going to, obviously we can't go through it all today by any means, but you read through Proverbs 10 down to chapter 28, and you read what wisdom does, what wisdom brings. Wisdom brings you into a right relationship with your neighbors. Wisdom brings you into a right relationship with your business partners or your employer or your employee. Wisdom teaches how to gain wealth and how to gain it properly. Wisdom teaches a right view of wealth. Wisdom gives a healthy and a proper security. So all of these things that we desire come from wisdom. And it's at this point that, as Jim's already pointing out, that we have to read this as New Testament Christians. And we certainly cannot read it as philosophers. Wisdom is not just the ability to think well about the world. And wisdom is not the ability to say things like, I think, therefore I am. That's not wisdom. I don't even think it's right, but it's not wisdom. Wisdom is that which fears God and heeds His word. Therefore, we go to, as Christians today, we fear God, we heed His word, we receive His Son. We follow Him. We walk in the Spirit. We abide in Christ. We let the word of Christ dwell richly in us in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. We follow these things. It's wisdom that is at work there. And as we are walking wisely in relation to our God and His word, He gives us the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, long-suffering, meekness, all these things. He gives those to us. So that wisdom is better than anything we desire, because the good desires are found through wisdom. We also see down in verse 12, she says, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge and discretion. Wisdom is the companion of intellectual virtue. I don't know if you ever had a thought at any point in time in your life that you wanted to be a great thinker. Some do. Some desire to be known for their philosophy or their thinking. And wisdom, what she is speaking of here is truly, this is what I would call intellectual virtue. It's right thinking. So it's not astonishing thinking. It's not necessarily thinking that's going to upend the way everybody views the world, but it is virtuous thinking. There's three aspects of it here. Prudence, and this ability to think well. And I'm going to take it a little bit farther. It's the ability to plan and to put these plans into action. So I talked about the shrewdness, the craftiness. You think of one who is crafty at evil. You know, those who are really skilled at it plan. They think through the process. They evaluate possible outcomes. They evaluate what obstacles may be in the way. And they begin to look and think, how can I achieve this goal? And they figure it out and then follow through. And prudence is that ability to say, here's where I want to go. Here's where I know I need to go. And they begin to figure it out and then follow through with it. This is careful planning. There's also knowledge. And Bruce Waltke said that wisdom is inseparable from knowledge. And that's because wisdom is the right application of knowledge. If you do not have knowledge, you do not have wisdom. Even as I talked about understanding a few minutes ago, it's based on knowledge. There's facts that have to be there for you to make a wise decision. Part of what Proverbs is doing is giving us knowledge. He's saying, here's what you need to know. Here is the destiny of the fool who follows the adulteress. That's what he's saying. Look, here's the facts. You need this. And so knowledge is vital to wisdom. And it's not just having the facts. You also have to have accurate facts. And I know it's a little bit off the track here, but I think the illustration will be helpful anyway. You think of conspiracies today. There's a wide range of conspiracy theories. I don't even want to get into what you think is a conspiracy theory is not. There's a wide range of theories out there. One that's easy to address is the flat earth theory. So somebody is convinced the earth is a disk. It's not a ball, it's a disk. And they have facts at their hand. They have facts about the world. They have facts from Scripture. They have facts from other places. But they don't have wisdom because their facts are all wrong. It's just that simple. Their facts are wildly inaccurate. And so because they have inaccurate knowledge, they are not able to achieve wisdom, at least in that specific area. They have no wisdom. And so what is necessary is, it's not just knowledge, but right knowledge. And so when wisdom tells us, I speak right things, she is promising knowledge that leads to herself. Not false knowledge, not knowledge that's going to lead astray. And then the final thing is discretion. One scholar said this is private thinking. So it's related to prudence. All of these ultimately work together well. But it is thoughtfulness, it's purpose, since I want to do this or I have a goal in mind, and it's combined together really as the inner workings of a person. So you think about your mind. I talked about the prudent ones, planning. And there's a lot of things in our lives that we don't actually plan in any sense. I actually do this, but not a lot of people go to the grocery store and plan what they're going to do. I go to the grocery store. If I know where it is, I know I'm going here, 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 shortest register, out the door, 90 seconds, and I'm happy. Many people wander aimlessly with no direction to their lives at all. And they just wander around looking at everything, I guess. There's no discretion. There's no prudence in planning. And I'm being facetious. I hope you recognize I am being facetious. And I'm telling the truth when I say I have a mental map and I follow it, but I'm exaggerating the lack of discretion of others. But there are many people, the whole point of that, there are people, they go and there it is, I'll do that, and I'll do that, and I'll do that. And there are many things where there's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to have a set plan for every event of our life. You don't have to draw up a battle plan for your travels to Escanaba. Sometimes we just go. But that's part of that inner working. Part of this is going on, and there's a decision. I'm going to go do this. There's part of that. You're walking through the store, and you see something. It's on sale. It wasn't on your list if you had a list. And you see it. And now you got to make a decision. You begin to think. At least you should begin to think. And this is the point of discretion, is there should be some thinking about what you're about to buy. There should be thoughtfulness present. It should not be a whim. It's, oh yeah, I'll take that, and gone with absolutely no thought. And that's trivial When you walk down the ice cream aisle and say, yeah, I think I want a gallon of ice cream today. Yeah, that, morally speaking, that's not that big a deal. But when we get to the major issues, we get to even bigger purchases, but certainly we come to temptations and moral decisions, we can't operate on a whim. And so we may not always, many times, we don't have a plan of action for the temptation that's going to hit this afternoon. Because, we all have temptations we know that hit us. Some temptations we expect, and I hope those expected temptations you do have a plan of action for. But sometimes there's temptations that just kind of come out of nowhere. And now you have to respond, and you have to respond with thought. There has to be a purpose there. And this is that necessary part of prudence. I would say it's the foundation of prudence. It's a precursor to prudence, and saying, I'm going to be thoughtful about what I'm doing. So when I have something before me, a choice before me, I'm going to be thoughtful about it. I'm not going to be emotional about it. I'm not going to just, whatever the whim strikes me right now, I'm going to think about what I'm doing. And so that these three things ultimately work together. This habit of thoughtfulness, this knowledge that understands and sees rightly the world and has learned from wisdom truth about the world, this working together with the ability to plan well, to make right decisions and to do right things. They're all there with wisdom. She lives with them. So she's not a spinster living alone in her house. She has roommates, and they're all marvelous roommates. They're all for our good. Verse 14, she has good counsel. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. So first off, wisdom gives good advice. It's just that simple. You don't know what to do, don't know what direction, you got a difficult choice, wisdom. And Solomon would say, go ask her. Go ask wisdom. She'll give you good advice. Wisdom is understanding. I've already touched on this. We saw the same thing back in verse 1. But this is still, wisdom and understanding are the same. It's the same person, two different names. And wisdom has strength. Bruce Waltke again said, for counsel to be worth its salt, it must not only have a strategy for success, but also the strength to carry it out. So these all go together here. Wisdom says, here's what you need to do. Here's what you should do. Wisdom, good wisdom, also says, helps you prudently work through, how do you do this? How do I get there? So I'll give you an example from the counseling realm. When someone comes to me and they're struggling with a habitual sin, usually it's addictive type behaviors. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to work out a plan. I'm not just going to say, you stop doing that. I'm going to say that, but that's not the only thing. I'm going to help them think well about what they're doing and why they shouldn't be doing it, but we're also going to begin to lay out a plan. So I'm asking them, when does this usually happen? What circumstances kind of set this off? And now, this is a common occurrence. Let's work out a plan to respond right to that temptation instead of wrong. And it may be a simple plan like turn around and walk out the door. And sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it is a lengthier plan, and as you get moving farther in that process, the plan does become lengthier and working through, preempting those temptations, those triggers that might be present. But wisdom is giving this good counsel that says, here's how you need to respond. But wisdom also says, I have the strength you need to do it. That's one of the things counseling I can't do. I can talk, I can teach, I can try to give homework assignments to help them keep thinking on this. I can't enable them to do it. I can't make them do it at all. And I can't, when they get in the situation, 99% of the time, I'm not there. They have to do it on their own. The best I can do is say, if you will, there's moral support. I'm praying for you, I'm encouraging you to do the right thing. Wisdom says, I have the strength you need to do this. I enable you to do these things. And then wisdom gives us an example. She proves her worth by showing how she is at work in the world. So verse 15, it says, by me kings reign and rulers decree justice. By me princes rule and nobles, all the judges of the earth. So what wisdom says is, in short, she sustains the rulers of the world. And it's interesting, the language is a universal language. It's not, I sustain good rulers, I sustain the rulers of Israel. It's all rulers are upheld by her. For them to rule at all, they must have wisdom. And I would say that's absolutely true. Even if we look at American history and you look at the presidents that we've had, and some of them have been incompetent. Some of them have been immoral. But there's all of them is a necessary minimal wisdom to function at that level, to do anything. To navigate the politics, to navigate the legislative and judicial process, they need a minimum of wisdom. And that wisdom is saying, here, I am the one who sustains every ruler. And the argument really is, it's in this case, is arguing from the greater to the least, or from the greatest to all. If rulers cannot do without wisdom, how much more does the common person need wisdom every day? And here's where my analogy of the president doesn't carry through anymore, because what we're talking about ultimately with wisdom, it's not just the ability to make good choices, make political choices. There certainly is an aspect of that. And any person, whether Christian or non-Christian, can make a good choice about the car they buy. There is wisdom that should be applied there. But ultimately, we're talking about moral choices. Every one of us, every person needs moral wisdom, the ability to decide rightly. We all need it. That's what she's saying. And part of this also is wisdom. She's not a snob. Wisdom is not offered only for the elite, but for every person. All need her. She's available to all. Wisdom also, verse 18, it says, riches and honor are with me, enduring riches and righteousness. She brings riches that last, enduring riches and righteousness. This is not the fleeting wealth of this world. And it's one of the things as we keep moving forward in Proverbs, when we hit the second section of this study, we see that wisdom in the context of Israel in that day absolutely promises wealth, physical wealth. But it promises a wealth that endures as well. Promises wealth, not just that's passed down from generation to generation, but wisdom promises wealth that lasts beyond this life. So we recognize we're not talking about carrying buckets of gold into heaven with us. We recognize now that as wisdom even points us to, we're talking about righteousness. We're talking about those things that, Christ is now talking about laying up our treasures in heaven. These things which are immaterial. But just because they're immaterial does not mean they're not valuable. These are priceless treasures. They're permanent ones. And that's what wisdom brings. In verse 19 through 21, she says, my fruit is better than gold. Yes, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. I traverse the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of justice. that I may cause those who love me to inherit wealth, that I may fill their treasuries. She gives righteous wealth so that the fruit of wisdom is better than refined gold. And the images here of her walking the ways of justice and righteousness, that path she is on is the path of justice that crosses and intersects the path of righteousness. And it is from that you gain these lasting riches. Verse 11, God tells Solomon, because you have asked this thing, ask for wisdom, and have not asked long life for yourself, nor have asked riches for yourself, nor have asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern justice. Behold, I have done according to your word. See, I have given you a wise and understanding heart, so that there has not been anyone like you before you, nor shall any like you arise after you. And I have also given you what you have not asked, both riches and honor, so there shall not be anyone like you among the kings all your days. The foundation of Solomon's throne was wisdom. From that, because he sought wisdom, he gained power and riches and honor. So in the context, especially the Old Testament context, we see that there is a promise of riches. That wisdom, again, as a general principle, promotes prosperity. So those who live wisely, especially in Old Testament Israel, those who lived wisely would do well. And we can bring this forward some in recognizing that even today, if we live wisely, generally speaking, our financial condition is going to be better than if we live foolishly. So, I mean, a simple example is if you walk in the store and see the new 89-inch TV and decide foolishly, I would say, that you have to have this, you are suddenly going to have a lot less money in your bank account. And when tomorrow your car needs a new transmission, you're suffering because you have foolishly spent your money, and now you have nothing in case of emergency. And I don't have time to prove all that, but I can show all of that from Proverbs, that the wise man is actually saving his money. And that puts him in a better spot so that when tragedy happens, the unexpected comes along, he's not scraping bottom and has nothing to handle the emergency. And so and I'm saying it very carefully, but generally speaking, even in American Christianity, if you live wisely, you will prosper more than if you lived foolishly. Generally speaking, because I know a drug dealer who got saved, and after salvation was complaining to me somewhat about how much less money. Used to having wads of cash, and now it's not there, and so much struggling to make ends meet for a while. Even though there's a wise life, in this particular case, there was great folly that brought in a lot of money for a little while. And that's the key. There was an end there that was a whole lot worse than the brief time of a lot of cash that he had. So wisdom, again, generally speaking, is prosperous. So James Williams says, if thoughts, actions, and will are devoted to the guidance given by wisdom, then life will be enjoyable in a well-ordered way. And that really just sums up everything I'm trying to say there. As we talk about practical living, if we're living wisely, it's going to be a better life than if we weren't. Again, as a general rule. We'd probably all come up with exceptions to that. But generally speaking, wisdom is the better way to live. And that's her point. Wisdom is a better way to live. And verse 17, wisdom promises. She says, I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently will find me. She promises an enduring love for those who love her. The adulteress promised a one-night stand. Wisdom promises a life of devotion. And the imagery here in part is she is the ultimate spouse. That this is the one that you can spend the rest of your life with. That's what he's talking about, is this deep, enduring love. And she doesn't play hard to get. I'll keep the romance analogy going. She says simply, I'll be found. She's not being coy. She's not hiding herself. She's offering wisdom and says, I will be found if you will seek me. Michael V. Fox says the authors of Proverbs require that we do more than simply obey the teaching or learn wisdom for utilitarian advantage alone. They insist on emotional commitment. To be wise is not only to know wisdom, but to love it. Wisdom's foundation, again, is the fear of the Lord. That's where it all starts. He that lacks the fear of the Lord does not know him. And he that knows not God knows nothing as he ought to know it. It's quite the statement. He that does not know God does not know his business in life, nor his own happiness. He does not know how to live. He does not know how to live a joyful, happy life because he does not know God. He spends his time chasing around after other things rather than that which brings genuine delight in life. Wisdom's nemesis, her enemies, she says it's evil, pride, arrogance. Michael Zigarelli said humility is a precursor to wisdom. That is the hardest part of wisdom, as you have to humble yourself before and say, I will be your student. You be my teacher. I will be the lesser. You be the greater. I'll be your disciple. You be my master. Humility is essential to wisdom. And later Proverbs tells us that the proud cannot find wisdom. We also see that wisdom is not just evil in general, but an evil life. Those who live wickedly are the enemies of wisdom, the evil lifestyle, and then crooked speech. Verse 13 says the perverse mouth. This idea of perverse throughout Proverbs it's out of the right line. So justice, uprightness is straight. The word picture is just that. It's straight as a line, and straight as an arrow. That which is crooked turns off. It just simple goes to different directions. So the way to life is perfectly straight. The way of wisdom is perfectly straight. Anything that deviates from that straight way is crooked. It is wicked because it turns aside from that which is straight and white. So in the context, it's deceiving speech. In fact, it is called in Proverbs, lying is called perverse speech. It is that which speaks evil of God, speaks evil of men. It is this which schemes with others to do evil. It really is just any speech that is evil or that seeks to accomplish evil. Therefore, what do we do with all of this? Real simple. Love wisdom. Love wisdom. And I know the marriage and the romance analogy falls apart as we talk about the invitation to all to come to wisdom and to love her. The better analogy at this point is we talk about God. And he invites all to come to him. He commands all to love him with every fiber of their being. Wisdom is offering a similar command to love her, to seek her. So wisdom is worth the work to learn wisdom. She's worth the study. It's worth the time and the energy to find it. There, of course, has to be humility. I've already touched on this, but I'll stress it again. This is essential for wisdom. If you do not have humility, you do not have wisdom, and you will not find wisdom until you learn humility. And then fear the Lord. If you're going to have wisdom, this is foundational. It's the starting point.